let us lay aside every weight that so easily besets us, and let us communicate effectively and do effectively to operate a manner that is efficient and proficient for the city. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Miller? Here. Ms. Harris? Mr. St. Columbia? Mr. Etherly?
Here.
Ms. Davis? Dr. Miller? I have one absent, 5 present.
Mr. Murdoch, first thing on the Water Sewer Department presentation by Mr. Calvin Murdoch. Mr. Murdoch, will you come to the podium for us? Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. As promised you the last time that I was here, I would begin an installment on stopping the bleeding. You should have gotten a packet in the mail, hopefully. Everybody's or hand delivered that has a cover that looks kind of like this. If you open that packet, there's a table of content, but more importantly, there is a summary sheet that has numbers on it that looks like this. We're all on the same page. All right. I did a handout to you that was captioned 2017, a 2017 report. And I don't know that, and I was in communications with the gentleman that was your utility manager at that time. And he had shared with me this existing operational condition booklet. And I don't know if any of you ever saw that or not, but the sheet that you have in front of you is an executive summary of what his report was upon the existing conditions of your facilities. And as I did my discovery, I found that consistently there was a number of those items that existed in 2017 still existed 40 days ago or so when I came on board. And I will challenge you now, and I guess my background is in 35 years in construction. So I understand how to prepare estimates for fixing things. And so that's what you have in front of you. And had there been follow through and follow up and closure on this 2017 report, the system would not have been in the condition that it is currently in today. Well, and I'll kind of condition that, if there were personnel in place to ensure the operation and maintenance of the system after these things have been completed. Now, as you look through the number scenario and the summary, the more detailed is in the tabs. And I don't want to bore you by trying to go through all of the details. If you want to read the individual details for the lift station, for water production, for truck and equipment, the emergency generator, any parts of that that you feel the need to discuss, I'm more than happy to attempt to discuss those items with you. Are there any questions yet?
For the benefit of those people who are not here and do not have the report, could you, like, read over the parts you highlighted in the executive summary?
Okay.
For their benefit.
All right. You don't make me need to use my glasses to see that. Well, let me share with you, and I guess I did highlight the fact that the Helena system had two water supply wells in the entire Helena system that are working. Actually, there is an additional well that is operational today. However, it has a taste and odor issue, so it's not ran currently. And I mentioned to Attorney Valley earlier, the decline in population was bittersweet. It was bitter in the fact that you had people leaving that could contribute to the economy, but it also reduced your water demand. So, you know, since the decline in population since 2000 to date, you've had a reduction in your overall water demand on a daily basis. So at your leisure, you can go back and kind of glean those individual items. But I want to challenge you today, and maybe you've never seen this before, I don't know. But had there been a pursuit of these items, then the system would, without a doubt, be in a much better condition today than it is.
Well, I think to answer your question, I think it was prepared and given to the then mayor and the mayor thereafter. I don't think the city council's ever seen this full report. And the four of them that were here at the time, I don't think they've seen the full report from the water.
Well,
I don't think any of the six have seen it.
actually, you know, there's only one book. I mean, it's a pictorial, basically. And I went through and I actually took photographs of everything that I saw. And let me also add that the cost scenario in this particular piece, and I should have captioned it phase one, because there's a necessity to have other phases to complete the rest of the non-functional lift stations that we have not addressed in this particular report.
The part I was thinking this of is this report that you're saying, so there were two operating water supply wells for the entire Helena system, and it says there are 4 operating wells in good condition on the West Helena side.
I didn't understand you, Council.
The wells in the report is saying there was 2 operating on the Helena side in 2017.
Right, that's what the report said. Yeah.
And 4 in West Helena.
Right.
What are the total number of wells that the city has for the system?
I believe there's 4 on the west side, 10, 7, 9, and 5. 9 is currently operating on a borrowed pump from Jones Hydro. That's a submersible awaiting a go-ahead or green light to actually reinstall, or actually he has a repair. That's a $24,000 repair to do a blasting of that well to break away the calcification on the well itself, in hopes that that repair will increase the water production out of that well. Now, and these wells are 600 foot deep, and I think that well is like 50 years old. And these wells don't last forever. So consequently, you have a proposal for a new well in the future. The new wells require substantial planning. The sites have to be approved by the health department. You know, there's a test well that needs to be drilled to ensure that there is adequate water supply in that well prior to putting in a permanent well. So it's a fairly extensive planning process. So you need to start the process soon so that you get the results of that well sooner rather than later. So it's important to plan, but you have to execute on an actionable plan. Plan doesn't do you any good if you don't act on it.
And the purpose of a well for listening audience? What's the purpose of a well for listening audience?
Well, the well produces water.
There's been much discussion about written pumps and et cetera. Could you tell us the status of written pumps?
Well, this installment, phase one, my primary focus initially has been to stop the bleeding. And I should have had, I was promised to have quotes from Rain for Rent. And I did have some conversation with Xylem relative to the pumps that we've already rented. And I tried to insist upon him that the city of Helena has paid them enough money that they ought to own a couple of pumps. We'll wait and see if that flies, whether or not with his higher ups. But from what you can look at in phase one, I think for about $130,000 or $40,000, we'll have 3 to 4 stations fully operational, which will eliminate the need for bypass pumps. And I think we can reasonably extrapolate that in very short order if we paid another 2 times that amount to eliminate all of the bypass pumps, to have all of the stations, all 9 of the stations up and fully functional on the primary pumps. And that's the goal. That's our goal. And our goal is to get there before the end of this year. And I think that's a realistic goal.
You said the total fix is 130,000 estimated?
For this first.
For the first phase, I'm saying.
Yeah, right,
To get us from written pumps is what I'm talking about.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, this first phase,
260.
130,000 this phase. And then if we duplicate that in phase 2, then we're at 270. The math works.
Okay. So the total cost that you've gotten based on quotes will be $270,000 to us to stop written pumps.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable estimation.
At some point, Mr. Turner, when we paying like $80,000 a month written pumps? I mean, Ms. Rams is shaking her head, yes.
Ms. Davis.
Kind of want to see what we're looking at. Do you have a breakdown of it? Is it written somewhere?
He has a breakdown in the email that he sent. You have an email that's in your packet.
Okay,
Well, it's addressed to Mr. Murdoch.
okay.
And he is from Jack Houston.
Jake Houston.
Jake Houston.
Yeah,
Okay.
from 10
He
Carver.
goes to he's with 10 Carver.
No, there's a
Okay.
detail. I think it's under tab
Yes, sir. I'm trying
tab
to
1. I
find-
believe
actually
it's
find
tab 1,
Okay.
the very
the-
first
the
tab,
price breakdown.
right there.
I see 42,000 for, and then 29,266. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, that's part of what we're looking at. Mr. Murdoch is would you explain that?
Yeah, that's part of what we're looking at. Yes, sir.
So for this first phase, could you kind of like give me the numbers, like X number amount is for this, and X number amount is for that?
Well, let's just read it.
Okay. I see, because I see 42,541, so we actually don't
Okay.
have to read that. Then took 29,266.06, and then do I look at the capital requirements page on this, or? I'm just trying to figure out how the numbers come together.
Okay, well, Ken Carver's email, pump stations, 5 and the Miller pump station, those two, okay? Total price for pump equipment on these two stations would be $42,541.
Okay,
Lead time for all of the equipment for these two stations would be 2 to 3 weeks, as almost everything is currently in stock at a 10 Carver location for the Gorman Rub Factory, excluding the belts. Keep in mind that this price is only for the pump parts and does not include any electrical parts or labor.
Okay.
The easier station improvement would be for stations 3, 7, and 9. The total price for equipment needed for these 3 stations would be $29,266. The lead time for all of the equipment for stations 3 and 9 would be 2 to 3 weeks, as almost everything is currently in stock at a 10 Carver location or the Gorman Rupp Factory, excluding the belts. The T3 rotating assemblies for station number 7 currently have a 10-week lead time, while all of the other parts needed are currently in stock. Once again, price is only for the pump parts and does not include any electrical parts or labor.
gotcha.
Does that help any?
A little bit.
And the electric parts, the next part, the 2,500 on the next page.
Yeah, and what I've done, and I think I just used a multiplier. I think I've used 10 motors to come up with a number. The motors are 50 horse and 75 and 100 horsepower motors, and that's the price that'll recondition or buy a new motor, whichever makes sense. They cannot, really give a precise estimate until they physically have the motor in their shop in Memphis. So Tri-State Armature will do the work. They will rewind electrical motors, recondition them to be like new. But the price that we've got in here will cover either the reconditioning or the price of a new motor. But we have to physically pull them and get them to Memphis to their shop.
So by the time you finish doing all this, we will have no need for pumps,
That's
no
it.
need for renting pumps.
That's the objective. Yes, yes, sir. You'll have stations that work. Now we do have a component that it should be a minor component. J.R. Stewart in Memphis has done some controls work already. We've got new controls in the Miller station. We got new controls in lift station 9. And I think we may have new controls down where down at the mill. I think that's station 1 where the big T10s are. So we've got new controls there. It's just a matter of getting all of the equipment so that everything running, and then we need the controls.
So the financial for the council is this, Ms. Ramsey, Madam Clerk stated, she nodded her head that we were spending approximately $80,000 a month at our peak and renting these bypass pumps. And the total fix, including phase 1 and phase 2, what Mr. Vardock is saying is approximately $270,000 for us not to have any rent pump rental before the year's over.
Yeah, I believe that's accurate.
I still don't understand how we come into that number though. So he went through and gave me this number, so that comes out to be 71,807.80. So where is the other 100 and something thousand?
Well, respectively, I'm not asking you to deal with anything other than the content of this email.
Okay,
The first item today,
okay.
because once we do this, then we will fine tune what's left.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the
Yes, sir.
ask tonight
Yes, sir.
is, I think,
For
the total
those-
of what's
For those
on
amounts.
the recap sheet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not in total, because we're
Yes, sir.
not asking for
Yes, sir.
a well, because
Yes,
a
sir.
well, that's going to take a long plan. But I think you need to know, all of you probably don't know that a well costs $250,000.
Yeah.
You need to know that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, $750,000.
3/4.
Yeah, $750,000. You know, you need to know that so that you can plan for that well into the future. Plan how you're going to pay for it, finance it, bond issue, pay for it out of pocket, whatever the case may be.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Murdoch,
Yes, ma'am.
so, just a quick question. I'm looking in here and I see that it says, keep in mind that this price is only for the pump parts, does not include any electrical parts or labor. So how do you feel about the capability and ability of your staff? Is that where your labor is gonna come from, or are we gonna also have to pay for labor?
Well, we can, now I've got $25,000 there for installation labor. You see that? Now, yeah, that's kind of,
Hold on, I think you can tell them where you got that. I think that's what Kyle was asking too.
was that what you were asking?
Yes, sir. I mean, listen, we're here to support you. We want our water to be good. I just want to know where the breakdown is.
Okay, well,
So when I vote for 100,000, 200,000, whatever it is, I just know what I'm voting for.
Okay, well, I mean, an estimate is kind of like a budget. It's a target.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And
Yes, sir.
my estimate is that we should be able to do what we're proposing to do,
Yes, sir.
either internally, and the way I like to do estimates is I like to have some money left over.
I understand.
I'd rather
Sure.
look good at the end
I
than
understand.
come in with a funny look on my face and I need more money.
I understand. Yes, sir.
I think I see it.
Okay.
I think item one is 87,541.
Okay.
I think you gotta do that 4 times.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
or 3
Thank you.
times or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. Well, that's not per pump. The 42 is delineated in the email. The 42 is detailed in the email.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay?
These are your estimates?
No,
Mhm.
the labor estimate for the installation is my estimate. That's my estimate.
Your estimate.
Right, but we have hard numbers from Tim Carver on the rest of it, and that's in an email.
If I may, when Mr. Murdoch talked to me earlier today, if we look at the capital requirements, the lift station upgrade, you see tri-state ombudsman. The email that he just talked about, he pulled is 42,541. That's also on TenCare on line item 1. When you flip to the next page, tri-state ombudsman is the 2,500. He
Right.
estimated, he multiplied that times a certain number. I don't know how many.
Right.
I think he multiplied that times 10 is how you get to the 20,000 tri-state ombudsman motors. So you got the 20,000, the 42,541, which is in the email that you have, and then he estimated installation of repair at 25,000 for a total 87,541. Is how I read what the two of them
Right.
together.
That is absolutely right. So what I'm saying to you, if you say, okay, you've got a green light to deal with item number 1, not to exceed $87,541, and you know how that money is going to be spent on a line item. Is that reasonable?
So what we have really here is you've just basically run us through phase 1 all the way through phase
That's right.
4.
That's right.
I
Okay.
gotcha. Okay. I gotcha.
And this job, this will get us off of renting the pump. Will this get us off of renting the pump this first phase or no?
Yeah, it will get us per the email. It will get us off the pumps
Okay.
on the stations that were mentioned.
Okay.
Okay.
That's not half. That's not all.
Yeah.
Half of the pump.
That's just pump
Yeah.
station.
I mean, right now we've got 5 pumps. So, and that's the objective. Get rid of those 5 pumps. as fast as we can.
And I saw in one of the reports that those, I guess, two of them that were filled with sediment, we eventually be able to get those
Yeah,
cleaned out.
well, yeah. I mean, that's a maintenance issue, sediment, sand settles on the bottom of the pits, to the point that the pumps are not able to pick up, and there's sludge, and you'll be amazed at the kinds of things that folks put in the sewer that settles in the bottom of the dry wells. So we'll have to have one of these fellows with some folks have a jet back truck. You may have seen a jet back truck driving around, you know what it was, but it's a huge vacuum on a truck. It's got a lot of power, and it'll suck all of that sludge and sand and stuff out of the bottom at a price. Well, Rural Water in Lonoke has one of those that they'll rent us at an appropriate time that we can, call them and get those things cleaned out once we get our self-operational.
Would that get those other two in Helena that are not working? Would they get those working, or that would be a completely different overhaul we'd have to do?
You talking pumps?
Yes, sir. Because I think I read it's 4, but only two of them are working.
Well, we will overhaul them or get new, yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, can you tell the body, what's for us renting those 5 pumps, what is the price for us renting those 5 pumps?
Well, we got part of it here now. We're saying $135,000. So, okay. And if we do that again, we're at 270. So we're.
I think his question was about renting the pumps right now that you have.
What are you paying
To rent those pumps?
Oh, right now, I think we're doing about $10,000, close to $10,000. The pumps and all of the sundry accessories, I think we're spending about $10,000 a month.
That's what we are.
We need to stop quickly.
So the body approves this part and it gets done, then you're already looking at versus spending $120,000 on rental, you have your repair done for $87,541
Yeah, that's
for
correct.
phase 1.
Yeah, phase 1. Now, feel free, at any time, if you need to come by the office and talk through anything that you need additional clarifications on, I certainly welcome you to come by and do that.
Mr. Murdoch? Are you on this issue? Move to the next.
The mayor suggested that this go to the next item.
Right.
Oh, okay. Are we clear on? Okay, turn the tab.
Mr. Murdoch, did the council want to take any action on what Mr. Murdoch presented?
There are a couple of different options for it.
How long was it for pronouncement?
A couple of that.
Okay. Well,
Said I
now,
have some issues getting on the server right now.
okay.
Yeah, so-
Now, but to be clear, I want everybody to be clear up front. You read the email. The lead times on these items are extensive.
Yeah.
They sell equipment on a first come, first served basis. So until you're in line, first in line, and at the point of purchase, you got the equipment. Otherwise, you get at the end of the line and wait. I mean, it sounds brutal, but I've had pumps I've waited 6 months for. So we talked before about having, spare parts. Ideally, you ought to have one of these pumps and motors sitting on the shelf at all times. We won't have any on the shelf anywhere. So we have 0 pumps and we're down 7. I want to be clear. Nobody said, well, why didn't he tell us? I'm telling you, you have 0 pumps. You have 0 motors. Nothing is on the shelf that you can pull off the shelf and put in service, and you ought to have. And that's actually a violation of ADEQ and Department of Health. We ought to have spare parts.
Looks like the item is actually a $30,000 savings for the year. But the issue would be cash readily available to actually do it. And then I guess we need an ordinance to waive the bidding if we were to do it, right? So my simple suggestion would be that we get.
Did everybody get a chance to look at it?
We get some, I guess if you give us a response as soon as possible, and then if we have to meet, special call meeting, we can do that to address that issue.
I think my initial response was regarding the water department, but maybe the city can.
$30,000 savings, I mean, I don't keep it down. It's worth it.
From water department's budget today. Gotcha.
If the body, if Mr. Turner believes the body, the city has it, there's no difference between city and the water utility, but the water utility counts are water utility accounts. But if he says we do it, they'll go ahead and give it the approval, then we come back and wait compared to bill and tie it up. If that's what you all wanted to do. So we can start the process.
Yeah, I can let you guys know something tomorrow, by tomorrow afternoon.
So we need to meet again this weekend.
It seems to me that the council give approval pending money availability, so y'all don't have to come back. If you want to approve, you want to approve. You don't, then you don't. But the money part, it'll be conditioned in the motion. That seems to me that'd be the best way to do it. I mean, at some point, we're gonna stop renting pumps. So mess running down our streets. That's right, Joe.
Something that Mr. Allen do. Are there any other financial option that we have?
I mean, I'd like to look into it. I just don't want to say off the top of my head, but I can look into something tomorrow afternoon. Like I said, we have, who I was talking to, I mean, we have $120,000 payroll every 2 weeks. We pay about $50,000 a month on our landfill bill. I mean, the landfill bond. We have some large bills. I told you today about how much money we pay for streetlights. It's $150,000 a year.
It may be constructive. Let me add this, and kind of like, how do you swallow a Campbell? The first bite that's essential is we need to bite off the 42,000 to get the pump order sealed. Because if you don't get the pump order sealed, you understand? We need to somehow get the 42,000 to get the pump order behind us.
So how about we make a motion to accept the proposal for phase 1 for 40,000 be paid out of city funds, with the remaining paid from the water department if funds are available.
42,000.
$42,541.74 to be exact. is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yes, that,
From city or water?
that wouldn't be a problem.
Sir,
From which account is what I'm
from
saying?
which account, sir?
General fund.
Okay, from general fund, okay.
Okay, I'll second.
Dr. Miller moves to take the 40, was it $42,541 to get the pumps ordered. Mr. Eckley, second. Any discussion?
With,
Right.
with.
And we've got the money to do it
Yeah,
with.
with
Is that right, Mr.
remaining
Treasurer?
paid out of water funds, if the funds permit,
You said the
otherwise.
remaining, you talking about the
The other,
remainder- the
yeah,
difference between 42,000 and 87,541.
phase one.
Right, the remainder of phase one. Is that your understanding of your second, Mr. Eckley?
Yes.
Any more discussion? Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Davis,
Yes.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
Kyle Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
Etherly,
Yes.
Miss Maxine Miller,
Yes.
5 yes, 1 absent.
Next meeting, I will bring back an ordinance to waive competitive bidding, so we'll have this approved with the ordinance, but if you all authorized to go forward at this point.
Ready to go to tab 2?
Yes, sir.
All right, if we go to tab 2, we're talking about trucks and equipment. Beg pardon?
Two is a new well,
Oh, you,
but mine's out in a different order.
yeah, you might have it in this order. Go to the truck and equipment. That's easy. Okay, truck and equipment. Now, I suspect we waited long enough that we may not have those trucks that are in the picture available anymore from Kitchens. And I guess if we're struggling for cash, I mean, we got holes that we can't dispose of spoil materials as we dig a hole. If we dig up a water line, we cannot put that same material back in the hole, particularly if it's wet. We need to be able to put dry material, sand or dry clay back in the hole. We don't have a way to haul it. We need a truck, a dump truck, to be able to haul material. You know, we got to get clean material in. We got to, pick up sand and gravel from a yard or from Arkansas Concrete, and we have nothing to carry it in. Please help.
This dump truck is only 23,000? The dump truck is $23,000?
That's the equipment. That's the dump box. That's the
Oh.
box.
Oh, okay.
Because what I was trying to do, I used to buy these things all the time. Many years ago, it cost a lot less then than they do now. So I would build a truck. I'd buy a cab and chassis, and then I'd have a truck outfitter to put me a box and a hoist on it.
Okay.
That's the cheapest route to go.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think I looked at a complete dump truck from an outfit in Nashville, and they're costing $40-some thousand for old equipment. And this is the most cost-effective way to do it.
Okay. So two trucks for 35,000.
Yeah, 2 trucks. So that's cab and chassis, but then you got to put the boxes on, and the boxes cost 23. Box and hoist cost 23,000 a piece. That's from Davis Truck Equipment in North Little Rock.
More than a truck.
So the 17,000 and the 23,000 is for one truck?
That's one truck.
Okay.
So you add 17 plus 23, you get your one truck. And I didn't know if the streets and sanitation, I don't know if they got a truck or not. But, so just kind of for your information, he had 2. So I didn't call him back again yet. I didn't want to hear no bad news that they sold. And he said that Cersei, I guess, had looked at those trucks once before. And they had a change of leadership. They had a new mayor, and the new mayor had killed the deal. So that's why they were still sitting. So I don't know, hopefully they didn't come back and buy them off of it. Now, this is an urgency. It's not life or death. I guess they've been struggling for a while. We could struggle a little while longer, I suppose, if it's absolutely necessary. But you need to know we need a dump truck.
Well, we get the sanitation fees, and so they've been short in the past. They've been paying recently, but I guess they can take whatever they need to get a truck out of sanitation fee.
I guess the question you're saying is when the city, when the water utility pays the city in lieu of paying the city the full fee, the $135,000 that they normally pay, they would deduct the dump truck from that before they remit us, general fund, the funds.
But if we don't have the full 87,000 on item number 1, are we not spending part of what we just committed to spending half of it?
On the 42 or whatever,
Yeah.
just to get the pump, I was considering the sales tax that we get. The city sales tax, the 2-cent sales tax and the 1-cent county sales tax. And then if we need the dump trucks, we can use the sanitation fees to offset that.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? I don't want
I hear you.
we already stuck our toe in the water on 42. I don't want to be without the other half of it on the
I
backside.
think the 42, considering the sales tax, the 42 wouldn't be a big deal. But you said one truck was 53,000.
One truck's 23 plus 17.5.
40.
40.
Yeah.
I think it showed 25 on the back page.
My question, Mr. Tyler, I have a question similar to Mr. Ed's. I guess we're saying you consider the 42,000 coming from sales tax. And Mr. Ed's, what I hear Mr. Ed's asking about is the difference between the 42 and the 87. Is that coming from sales tax too, or is that coming from some other?
Well, he said he wanted to go on and order, he wanted to just go on and order the pump, right?
Right.
And get that out the way.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to installing it or whatever else we need, then we can,
You said the water account paid for that.
yes.
And so as it relates to this 43,000 he's discussing now, you're talking the sanitation fees. Difference between them.
For the pump, 42,000.
You said the pump was from general fund,
Yes.
the 42,000. So the balance of that was from the water utility fund.
Yeah, just keep.
Right, the balance between 42,000 and 87,000. And now you're saying the sales tax, not sales tax, the sanitation fees, which are $135 approximately per month. You're saying that's what you're saying the council probably could pay for this. Is that
Dump truck.
the dump truck? Okay.
I got a question. Mr. The water department CD, how many CDs do the water department have?
I don't know exactly how many they have. I've been trying to get in touch with the guy from First State Bank. He hasn't returned my phone call, so I can get an updated balance.
What?
But we can't, you have to, a portion of that you have to keep to cover your.
You remember when the last administration had gotten the CD to cash in? How much was that CD?
24,000.
$124,000 that he illegally got, and had a check, right?
Yeah.
The check. So we in need to get all what the water department needs instead of making these other departments come up short of taking. Is there any way possible we can use that CD to get the water department what it needs instead of taking this much, instead of taking bits and pieces to make a cake? if that CD is available for us to use to take care of water department issues, let's use that one instead of saying this department got to come up short, we got to come up short here. Let's see if we can use that. When you think that'd be the best scenario for this case, you can get majority with $124,000, get majority of everything he's asking for, and nobody has to come up short. The water department can pay itself the money back. It would make sense instead of just saying, hey, take this piece, that piece, that piece. If that CD is available and we can use it.
That's what.
Already cashed or cashed?
It had been cashed. It would have been cashed.
No, he cashed the CD. You guys approved it.
No.
Yes, you did. He had gotten a check, he had remitted.
And you kept the check, remember?
Yeah, and then we had city council meetings.
Subsequently, the
Yeah.
council approved the expenditure of the $174,000. I
To
can't
pay
recall
for the
what-
pump.
To pay for the pump.
That's what it was, I'm sorry. My mind was somewhere, that's to pay for the pumps, that's how we can put, yes, a pump rental. I'm sorry, that's what my mind was.
Well, I mean, you're talking about 40,000. Couldn't we get one truck now and then get one truck in the middle of the year?
It's totally up to you. I was just trying to find a way.
He mentioned street. He didn't know if street has separate funds. Is street able to buy a truck? And then they can loan it to water.
Right. That makes sense. Can the street department, they have the funds available to buy this truck and let the water department use it? Just like that F-250 that we got the grant money to buy, it's 70% of the time it's supposed to be in the water department. The other percent of the time it's supposed to be in the street and sanitation department.
It would be more feasible to pay it from the general fund. The general fund brings in about $8 million.
Yes.
And for him to have his own truck.
We can manage it over the course of the year. It can be managed.
But if we manage it, the body needs to, we need to make sure the body sees that this money is going to the right thing, and make sure it shows on the appropriations, because we always talk about the budget. The budget, I want to make sure they see where this money is going. I want to make sure they know that this is being taken out and put, because this was not in the budget to spend this money, right?
There's equipment.
Okay, so how much?
I don't know.
And that's the thing, we find out what's the total line item and start subtracting, because I want to make sure that they know that we on the up and up. We don't want to be like we were in the previous administration.
Mr. Murdock, you say it's not a emergency, but it is a dire, I think, what you
Yeah,
said.
yeah, it's dire.
Example, as you ride through town, you probably see sand on the road. The mayor directed that the guys put sand out so people in the hilly areas could get out during the ice storm. They did most of that, one backhoe load at a time. So they would go to the ready mix place, whatever the name is, Arkansas Concrete, scoop a bucket of sand, drive to Prairie Street or Bernice or Stonebrook or wherever, and dump that load as far as it would go, then go back. And it took 10, 15 hours to get that done, because we didn't have a dump truck. On day two, we were able, I guess we dumped some stuff on the ground, but we used the knuckle boom truck as a dump truck. But they're not designed for that heavy stuff. And that sped it up a little, so the water company is doing that every time. The water backhoe has to be serviced by Case, which is at Barton. They literally ride the backhoe to Barton to get it serviced and ride it back, which is really bad. They shouldn't be doing that. And these are not new problems. That's the way it's just been being done. We just have to improve on how we do it. But we could be a whole lot more effective and efficient with the right equipment. And we're gonna get the sand up too. We're working on the street sweep.
Okay.
Yeah. The land was down, now they're ready for it to get up. Yeah.
I guess everybody waiting for some direction.
I mean, that was my proposal was to use the sales tax to get the pump right now, and use a portion of the sanitation fees to get the dump truck. That would be my suggestion.
Both dump trucks now, one down, one.
Well, one would do wonderful.
The one we do one dump truck now. Well, that beats us. That beat the hell out of what we got. I'm sorry. Beat the heck out of it.
What's the total, your action, is it 43,000?
Let me say, 17,500 plus 25. You said 43?
42,600.
Yeah, well, okay, 42,600.
So I'll move for approval of 42,600 and what?
$3.
$603 for the purchase of a dump truck for the water department.
I second that.
Mr. Edwards moves to 42,600 for the dump truck. Dr. Miller seconds. Any discussion?
Yes. I heard three options in that discussion. One came from me. I said the street can street buy. There was a question about CDs and then just about general fund money. Can we, as we go forward, explore all of those options and take the best route available when we make this purchase?
Yes and no. Practical issue you have, if they have to use CD, they're still gonna come back to you.
I understand.
But yes, with that caveat.
But if we have a CD and we can look at, because the pumps are just a killer. I mean, we spend more on pumps than we would to just fix the problems. It's a cash problem.
Right.
But if we can fix the entire pump problem and we have CDs to do it, it makes no sense for us not to do it.
Right.
It's safe. We may do it. And so I'm saying, check on it. Give us an answer by the next meeting. And then let's decide if this is the best way to go forward.
Because right now, we had $1.5 million on renting pumps. And the pumps don't belong to us. So we have to find a better solution.
We spent the last 124 to catch up on pumps and we could have fixed half of the problem.
And we're gonna have another bill due pretty soon.
Yeah,
He wasn't here, that was.
right.
I'd like to share though, I really think that if we can at all avoid cashing CDs in, I mean, unless it's just a complete crisis, and I know this is a crisis, but this is once again back to how we have spent money in areas I feel like we could have saved and done differently. That's just my opinion. And it's for this very reason. We're looking at pump problems, truck problems. We're looking at this capital requirement, which is $1,138,000 according to this bottom line. And we're trying to get through phase 1 and phase 3. So in the future, I mean, I'm just putting it out on the table. If we can avoid cashing in CDs, that's the equivalent of our savings, and look for other alternative ways. Cutting back over here, cutting back over there versus going and cashing in. That's what I would like to do, because the mayor shared that, you know, there was a $120-something thousand CD that we had previous administration got cashed, and we're not really, I don't know that we're seeing where that money benefited.
It went on pumps.
It went, okay, rental with pumps, which is really kind of backtracking,
Right.
we're renting.
But if I may, Ms. Miller, if the previous administration, the same problems we've had now, the previous administration never tried to attack these issues. The same people, the people around this table arguing, hooping and hollering, fighting to get information because we wasn't getting information. We knew of pumps. We fired a couple of water managers that we didn't have this knowledge that we have now. So we have a water manager now who's putting it out on the table, who managed the water department to tell us what is going on. We had to fight for information in previous years. So savings went out the door when we had $2 million and we didn't know the pumps were in this bad situation until one evening he called a special call me and said we need to spend $800,000 on renting some pumps. And the whole body was surprised by $800,000. So we had money to fix a $30,000 fix, but the previous administration didn't care about that. He just didn't want the new administration, anybody else to get their hands on $2 million to help stop the bleed. So even if he could have saved if he wanted to, but this is where we are. Even with us trying to save, we still got issues. And you look at your packet, and I'll talk about it later that I just handed you all out. We had people who had $42,000 health insurance from the water department was not getting paid under the previous administration. And we just had to pay $42,000 on people who have had the deductions taken out of their check last year. We just got caught up with paying $42,000 of the water department employees. So how can we save when we finally got some people over in the water department who can tell us where the bleeding was? $42,000 of folks' health care that they had been paying to the city had not been paid. So things like that, it's hard to save money when you have some people who just wasn't honest to tell us what was going on. Now,
I respectfully am in agreement with you from the perspective of we do need Mr. Murdoch's leadership on these pumps. That's just the bottom line.
right,
I mean, we're gonna have to do it because we do not want the citizens to continue to go through boil orders and unhealthy water. That's a given. I'm just simply saying that I understand what, Attorney Etherly is saying, that it'd be nice if we could cash them in, but I'm just saying as one voice, that should be the last alternative. Because to me, I'm still saying that there were areas where we could have saved and we did not. That's just my point.
Ms. Miller, if I may,
Yes, sir.
both the city attorney and city treasurer agree with you 100%. We have been saying don't cash CDs. And the issue, what I'm saying Mayor Smith had already cashed the CD. It was already done. And you had to pay it.
I think for further context, because I agree too. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't think we knowingly cashed in a single CD.
Right.
Knowingly.
we didn't,
Right.
There was nothing presented to us. We
Right.
found out about the $124,000.
because the check came.
When the
Right.
check came.
The check
It,
came.
it was done without council approval, but
What-
also we were at that point in time, we were under a gun. They're gonna take your pumps. And we can't be without the pump. So now we
Right.
have to do it. And what I'm saying now is now that we're at this point, all I'm saying is let's fix the problem so that we don't lose any more money because we still have to, we either have to fix them or pay for them.
Right.
One way or another. So we're gonna lose the money no matter what. So let's stick.
Historically, and we're not trying to be the previous administration, Mayor Smith called the bank and without the city treasurer, city clerk, or the city council knowing, had them cash in CD and got the $124,000. And then the city treasurer
Got the check.
took authority over the check. And at that point, you were so fine on the pumps that you had to pay the pumps. The city council didn't knowingly cash the CD. But it presented that you're gonna lose the pump, so you just own the cash you have, so you gotta pay it. And so the body didn't knowingly say, let's go cash CD. Now, history, if we would have just spent the $124,000 and fixed the pumps, look at $87,000.
Right.
And so that's why management is vital in and of itself. And so that's all I have to say. I'm not trying to cast spurs on the past administration. I just want to say for clarity.
Just
They did.
We couldn't figure that part out.
We couldn't
Yeah,
figure it out
she
either.
could.
They didn't, they
Yeah,
was
she
fun.
could.
Mr. Turner had to step in and stop it.
yes, you
But
are.
it was a
we
bank
are.
and loan. Mr.
Yeah.
Turner, have we stated anything inaccurate?
We knew.
The term CD has not come out of my mouth since I've been elected and served in this position until now. And it's because the alternative is that we continue to lose money. And so he's using the term stop the bleeding. I'm saying, yeah, let's just stop it. Let's just stop it.
So I agree the CD should be on the table. It should be on the table in discussion, but I agree with Ms. Miller, it should be a last resort.
We had a last resort when ain't nothing working.
Mhm.
And we had $2 million to get this problem fixed. And the council was kept at bay on a lot of things. So we are. Any more discussion?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
because, and I'm gonna say it again. You know, when we had our budget meeting, we had two alternatives. We had one with the 60 or $100,000 reserve, which, you know, okay. And then you had one with $250,000. And we chose the one with the 60 to 100.
Right.
I'm saying that we might have had a little bit more cushion.
Right, but with the $250,000, you do remember that it was salaries and things like that that wasn't put into that budget would cause us to still, because Mr. Miller, some salaries in that budget, if you recall, that was not put into the budget. It was a street and sanitation, some of those salaries that wasn't put in, so that's, yeah, so it was a couple of those salaries, so, so I believe the budget that we chose was the best, not to knock anybody, but savings is savings. That's why you all are here now, to make sure that we can save. That's why I'm showing you everything, every dollar is being spent, so you all know this what I was telling you about, this $26,000. The $26,000, it wasn't, it was supposed to be taken out last year. It was took out this year. So that's eating up some of your money. So we got a motion and second on the floor. So Madam Clerk, any more discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please?
What's the motion? The motion is about the,
To approve the $42,603 for dump truck for the water department.
We're making a motion on the dump truck now.
Yes, sir.
Can you handle that, Mr. Craig? Yes.
Ms. Davis, Mr. St. Columbia,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Attorney Etherly,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
5 yes, 1 absent.
Number 4. Tab number 4, Mr. Murdock.
All right,
Is that gonna be?
what do you all have on your tab for?
emergency generator.
Okay. We've got, I guess we've been gifted by the Port Authority 2 generators. One is a 200 kW, and the other is, I think about a 75 or 100 kW trailer mounted. The 200 kW is not adequate to carry the full load at the water treatment plant. Rob Vondran from Energy is going to be here Thursday evening at 2:00. He will load test the water plant here in Helena. He will also load test the plant in West Helena to determine the correct size of backup generator that we need to carry both of those plants. And given the proximity of the wells in West Helena, I want to have him to also put well number 10 and well number 7 are right there on the yard. So if we can combine the power, the temporary power, to include those 2 wells as well as the water treatment plant, then we will have a safeguard. If for some reason Energy, who appears to historically not have reliable power, we will have backup for the plant and for water production. That's the goal. We'll see how successful we are, once he gets here. And so we're gonna need 2 generators, actually. But we want to cross that bridge when we get to it. I want to at least get you prepared for the size of these numbers. These numbers are pretty substantial. Store Services or Powerhouse has provided us with a 400 kW generator for the Helena side. I want to get a competitive number from Taylor to see what Taylor will provide generators for. I bought somebody had comments about used equipment, and I bought a used generator in Forest City that was on a bank, a 300 kW generator that carries the entire water treatment plant. And I bought it for like $80,000. And it was a heck of a deal. I paid $20,000 to get it installed, so it's been a total of $100,000 to get a generator that was of a capacity to carry the whole plant. You know, you can find some good deals, you know, but we had a generator. It was museum quality, and I wasn't comfortable with the museum quality. And the council and the mayor agreed to let us upgrade, and we did. And that thing's running like a charm. So I think you see in your packet, you see a $500,000 generator. We don't really want to spend $500,000. I think that there are some alternatives. That's the upside. I think there are some more cost-effective alternatives out there that I will certainly be looking for.
Powerhouse. I'm sorry.
Museum quality. What's that mean?
It was old.
Oh, okay, I got you.
It was real old. It was, I'm trying to remember the name of that thing. It was when I started in construction in 1969. I was working, it was an Onan. It was an old Onan. And I said, man, where y'all get this thing from? So, but anyhow.
Now,
Any questions on generators?
as relates to some of these things, have you looked at the options of revenue bonds or any other type of?
I have not. Now, I used to have an excellent relationship with natural resources when Mark Bennett was at Natural Resources. Because they had very, very cheap money. 0.75% interest rate money and 1% money, which is almost like giving you the money. So, you know, I would certainly look at grants or very low interest money. I mean, that's better than a bond, you know, but it's a process and it takes time.
At some point, whether you go to natural resources or have to go the route of a bond, the city council authorized to do so and do it without the citizens having to vote on it. You all can vote on some type of lending structure. It would usually requires a rate study for someone to go in and study to see if our rates are sufficient. And you would use the revenues that the water utility brings in as a pledge to pay whatever type of financial structure that is.
Any more questions on emergency power?
So right now, we don't have any emergency power.
Zero, nada, nothing.
How long have we been without? How long have we been without emergency?
I don't know that you've ever had any.
Wow, okay.
The two generators were delivered, late October, early November. They just never been hooked up, but what you're saying is the stationary one, it's not big enough to run the plant anyway.
Okay.
Now, I did talk with Scott at Powerhouse. You know, he's got a whoop made up. We ought to be able to transport the portable generator to a specific location that we have a power loss. But we need a quick connection to be able to do that. So he's agreed that in his installation price, he's going to provide that. So we can at least, if we got a well that loses power, we ought to at least have a portable generator that we can pull out there to it and hook it up and get power to a well.
Okay. So that would have helped with the previous boil order where the power was lost to a well?
That would, if that had been, well, we had another issue on well number 9 because the pump went out, so that wouldn't have did us any good. Yeah, pump burned up. But if we just had it been just a loss of power, we could have had that covered.
Major, it's like a light expectancy.
Yeah.
3 light fuses on the whole burn. And I moved it in the ground. That's, what's it, boil.
Yeah.
All of that.
I have a question, not about what you're asking for here. How are you doing with fixing the water leaks that we have in the city? Your plan for all that? I've been getting a lot of inquiries about leaks in the community.
Well, we're doing a lot better. I say we're doing a lot better. You know, let me just kind of operationally. We need people working on leaks 8 hours a day.
Do you
You
have
know,
that ongoing now?
We do have now. We have some accountability and we have a leak log, and we have people working on priority leaks. Priority leaks. Priority leaks are large leaks that constitute major water loss. We need to be able to the health department, we need to account for all of the water that we pump. And that water that's going down the streets, we can't account for that because it's not going through a meter. So, but we're doing better. We have a system in place. I think I think I've shared with the mayor and Attorney James Valley, the daily activity summary that we've got crews signing on to every day so we can account for where people are, what they're doing. So we're going to make a lot of progress, I do believe. I was impressed with last week, and I think we're doing okay this week with the progress that we're making. We had a major leak over on 2nd Street last week that we repaired. We had one over on Russell Street that they repaired today, I do believe, if it wasn't Friday, maybe it was Friday. So we're getting some major leaks handled, and we're becoming more systematic in the approach. And it's, we have to get a mindset that, hey, we got a job to do, and we got to get out here and do it. We got to work diligently at it.
Crew out working on those water leaks.
We got a couple crews out working on leaks.
2 crews working
2
on.
crews, yes, sir.
I mean, I noticed, I've been getting a lot of phone calls and people inquiring about,
Yeah.
when are we gonna get the leak fixed in front of their house,
Yeah. And that's one thing that, people are uncomfortable and they are very expressive if the leak is in their front yard, and I can't mow my yard because the water
Yeah.
sitting in my yard. It's in my backyard, and I can't have a barbecue because I got to slush in this water.
Water up in the yard. So.
Yeah, and we hear that, and we
You
certainly
are aware of all that's going on?
I've implemented a leak log that records every call that comes in, records it in the log, the time of day, the address, what the issue is, and we have a service person that will go out and investigate the leak, determine what type of leak it is. Is it a main line leak? Is it a service line leak? Is it a meter leak? And kind of classified in level of urgency that we need to address it.
And you are in touch with those people?
Yes, sir.
I was having a question with the city attorney. At some point before Mr. Anthony, Ms. Davis, you all were here, do you remember when the council voted? I think I made a motion, Ms. Davis, you seconded. It was $50,000 when we got that ARPA money to have some folks to come in and repair these leaks. Do y'all remember that? Ms. Williams, do you remember that? We authorized $50,000, Mr. Murdoch. We got this money so that we had some guys who fixed leaks within the water department. They moved to Little Rock. And we had voted to let them come in on the weekends, not to exceed like $20,000 or $50,000 that week to lead up to $50,000 so it could help our departments get caught up on fixing those leaks. It was Kevin Miller, Gerald Carter, those guys, we approved it. And the mayor never did call those people to help us because we got the money. I think because it was tied into those people who were coming here to fix the water hydrants. Do you all remember those people? That was part of me saying, if you let the guys come here to fix it, to let the pressure off the water hydrant, we paid coming like it was $25,000 come in and all the pressure. You all remember that? So I was only asking the treasurer and the clerk about that. That's what I was asking about. But I remember, Mr. Members, if you can, we see if you can find it, but we did authorize because we had so many leaks. We had gotten that money.
Yeah, it was in a different fiscal cycle.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it was in
If you, to this extent, you still have it.
no,
in the
no,
fund.
I'm not saying we had, but we approved it. We still got it. We still have it.
Yeah, what?
The 50,000.
I think we got about 47,000.
Oh, so I would like to see us jump on some of these leaks. Because if we can help Mr. Murdoch and them get caught up on these leaks, you know, these are people who are licensed, who can come in on the weekend or to help us. They know this city. Mr. Carter and it was actually three guys. Three guys that left here, went to Little Rock to work in the water department. They had the license, they supervise in Little Rock Water Department. And they were asking.
We still have $47,000.
Yes, sir. He just explained it to you.
Yeah.
He said, believe so. So we'll find out. But my whole question was trying to help Mr. Murdoch get caught up on these leaks because they're everywhere. And his department is rather small and he needs some. He's trying to find some people to want to work, and it's hard to find that. That's it.
And I don't know. So if we wanted to discuss specific names, that's not something we do right now, right? That would be something we would do.
No, they're not employees. They're not employees.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if there were some names of people that we did want to discuss as potential employees, I mean, is that something we talk about? We don't talk-
Contractors?
They're contractors.
Like past employees?
I don't understand, but
The names I just threw out.
No, what it is, I've had some people call.
Oh, okay.
And I
No,
don't,
no.
yeah, you know,
No,
and
I
I just,
Yeah, you're
I
right.
would wait.
Yeah, you're right.
okay.
But you absolutely, yes, man, I know what you're saying. I can tell you.
Okay.
I
That's fine.
understand. You know, but so
My mind was rolling. You'll have 47,000 sitting there. That's unrestricted at this point by the federal government. Seems to me you could have fixed your pumps.
We used to get a truck.
You could fix the pumps or the truck if you had
There
47,000
you go.
sitting there.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I got you, but I'm just saying.
So I mean, we can get companies leaks. So you know,
For clarity,
and-
those
wait,
went here as part of the funds that we received from the Biden administration. There's $47,000 left over in the grant, and that's what we've been discussing.
Leaks. To fix, go back into.
And so that's the conversation we're having, and I don't want you all to be left out of
I appreciate
understanding what 47,000 we're talking about.
Appreciate it.
But that was a grant.
we're gonna wait just a minute to see if, because we had appropriated some of that money to see if any bills need to be paid out of it from the money we appropriated. So, okay.
Mr. Murdoch, you mentioned the leak laws in response to Frank Columbo's question.
Okay.
Can a person call the water company to verify that the leak that they are seeing is on the law? And
They can do that. They can certainly do that.
Will they provide information related to what's the status of it?
If they've got a name and address, the leak log will have an address in it, a time that it was called in, whether it has been one called or not located. They will have as much information as we have in the system at the time. If it's been fixed, we can't give them a specific time when it will be fixed, but we can tell them where it is in the queue relative to the rest of the universe of leaks.
They use the term what, I understand, you said one called, are you saying Arkansas one call where you called and all of you
Yeah,
told me?
we
to
have
locate the
we
line.
have to do a locate, a one call on all leaks before we dig. Because we don't want to run into, specifically, don't want to run into AT&T's fiber optic cables and all that kind of stuff, because that gets real expensive. Yeah, power lines. Yeah.
Does that address your question, Mr. St.
So if there is a issue in the neighborhood, they are to just call the water department.
Beg pardon?
If there is an issue with the water leak, they are to just call the water department. Is that
Just
what you're saying?
Call the water department. Yes,
And they
ma'am.
will get put on the log.
Yes, ma'am. When you call and say you've got an issue, it's going to automatically get on the log. You tell us what the issue is, it will be on the log.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Murdock?
What tab are we on? We skipped the tab. I think the last tab is the roof repair at the plaza.
You give the general public, the water department contact information. The water department contact information for the general public, so they can call in the leaks.
Well, call the main number. Main number that I don't know. I have to put it in my phone.
The direct dial number is 870-817-7460. Again, 870-817-7460. Or flip your bill over on the back.
Yeah.
On the back of your bill, there's
Yeah.
numbers you can
Yes,
dial
sir.
for the water department as well.
I don't remember any numbers. I got everything in my phone. I'm gonna burden myself with remembering stuff anymore. All right.
So you still have item number 2 and item number 5.
What was item number 2 on your tab?
2 is,
Five is the roof.
Okay, all right, let's deal with the new well. We talked about the new well a little bit on the list already. Long-term planning. Long-term planning. Somebody has to know where the city-owned land. Here's the issue with the well. Ideally, we got to drill a well that's going to produce water. It needs to be in fairly close proximity to the water plant, because we have to pipe from that well to the plant. So there may be issues of right of way and easements, all those kinds of legal issues, hurdles that we have to cross. And the health department has to identify the site and they have to approve the site. Then once we've gone through those hurdles, we have then drill a test well to confirm that the site is going to produce an adequate amount of water to justify the cost of drilling the permanent well. So it's not a simple process by any stretch of the imagination. So you got to have it planned well in advance. And it's not a cheap proposition. I think you're looking at the numbers that are in your projected budget. Now, we didn't deal with an estimate of what it's going to cost to get from the well to the plant as far as piping is concerned, because we don't know how to do that yet. We could put a number in there, but what may not be meaningful depending upon what the location of the site is. Do we own any land that's in proximity to, and we're talking West Helena, in proximity to the West Helena site? The West Helena water plant.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Okay, all right, good. Now, I've also, and this is not to muddy the water. And maybe I need at some later point ask you for permission to engage an engineer, a hydrolysis to, we really need to eliminate one of these water production plants, but we need to be able to connect in the distribution system to piping that already exists between Helena and West Helena. I'm told that there is a connection on the main thoroughfare, across the streets there from Wendy's. But hydraulically, you know, what does it do on one side of the system or the next once we open that valve? So I need to have a hydraulic engineer investigate that and tell us if we need a booster pump station to make that work, or what is it going to take to make that work? But if we can make that work, we will make our lives a whole lot simpler in the future. Did I confuse everybody?
So there's a booster station. You said there's a connect by Wendy's. We can connect both of these these facilities together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, if we can eliminate one,
right.
The Helena plant, the plant here is a larger plant, and it has the capacity to produce enough water for both sides. So we don't really need two plants. If we can get enough water to the Helena plant, that's what we need to do. But stay tuned, and once I get some hard numbers, we'll come back and we'll talk in depth.
What you're saying is that you have information to believe that the Helena plant can produce enough water
Yes, sir.
for the entire city
For Helena and West.
and West Helena.
Yeah.
And eventually we could do away with the West Helena pumping.
Ain't nothing wrong with your hearing. Yes, sir. That's what I said.
I just want to make sure I understood you correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an artesian wells, aren't they? They're referred to as artesian wells.
I've heard of that. Yes, sir.
Sir?
I've heard of that. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. But if we can get that accomplished, we get that connection accomplished successfully, and be assured that it works, then that will be worthy of us pursuing. Any more questions on?
So the booster station makes sure the pressure stays up to.
Right. Well, because you don't want to open up and create a vacuum effect that sucks all the water out of the tanks on the west side. So you have to balance the system hydraulically. But we'll get there.
How many wells are in Helena, pumping? How many wells do they have here in Helena?
4.
4?
Yes, sir.
And how many are in West Helena?
There's-
6?
No, I think there's 5.
5?
Right.
And these 4 in Helena could produce enough? Is that what you're saying? Enough water?
Yes, sir. Well, they may not totally produce enough, but you know, we could, if we needed to add a well, it may make more sense to add it over here as opposed to over there. If ultimately our goal is to eliminate the West Helena plant.
And wouldn't that be because of the elevation of the land?
I don't know. Those wells are deep. We're closer to the Mississippi River over here than they are over there.
Right.
But those wells over there are 600 foot deep.
Just by example, you tell them how deep the Forest City wells are.
Well, by comparison, Forest City wells are 150, 200 foot deep. Deepest well we had in Forest City is 200 feet.
And these wells in Helena are how deep?
I don't know exactly how deep the Helena wells are, but the West Helena wells are 600 feet. deeper you go, the more expensive it gets.
For sure.
Yeah. Any more questions on water production?
They're both from the same aquifer.
I don't know that, answer that.
Okay.
And I was, kind of quizzing Jeff on that. In Forest City, we were drafting from the alluvial aquifer. I don't know what this aquifer is off the top of my head.
Aquifers and water sources.
The underwater river.
Yeah.
Underground river, it's an underwater river. All right. Everybody's, the water's clear as mud. Okay. All right, what's the last tab?
The roof and
All
the,
right. The Plaza Street office building. And the only thing we were looking at was trying to preserve the integrity of the building. And again, I guess making these financial decisions need to be tempered by some long-range planning, some short-term and some long-range planning. I get customers that walk in and say, when y'all gonna open up the drive-through on the West Hill? So we have to drive all the way over here to pay our bill. And there are some alternatives to that. If we look at, well, this roof is gonna cost $80,000 to clean up the facade of the building, fix that mansard, fix the soffit, paint up the mansard, and get it watertight, put some floor covering in it, repair the ceiling tile on the inside, and make the rest. So when at the end of the day, you're probably going to end up spending $150,000 to $200,000 to spruce it up. Is there a more viable, economically viable alternative long-term to do that? That's the question. If the only thing you're really trying to get accomplished is a drive-through for convenience for customer payments. Now, and I would suggest that, we've got an active drop box over there, and we still have customers, that building's been closed. We still have customers that drop their payments in that drop box. So somebody goes there and picks up payments out of that drop box every day. So, maybe a more attractive drop box location may be a viable alternative. Say, you don't need to drive all the way to Helena. We have a nice drop box at this location, and you can drop your payments in a drop box. That may be a decision that you all might want to consider.
What's the square footage of that building?
Beg pardon?
What's the square footage of that building?
I don't know. I never pulled the tape on it.
Okay.
Somebody may want it, it's a nice building. Somebody, may want it for an office building or something, but I think it's more building than we need for our purposes if we're only going to just receive payments.
Would the plan be just for drop, or we have a staff person there?
Say it again now.
Well, if open, would we have a staff person?
Well, and that's why I'm suggesting, because we got to train, you have to train staff to staff it.
Yeah.
There's obviously some security issues if you got two ladies over there by themselves. And to be perfectly honest, I think that in my thinking, I'm just a thinker, that the Dropbox alternative is a viable solution to customers making payments. You know, they won't be able to initiate new accounts and do things like that. But at least if all they want to do is drop their water bill payment off, they ought to have a convenient place over there to do that.
Ms. Murdock, would this, these other items be included in your proposal for natural resources or for a revenue bond?
I mean, whatever you all decide that you want to seek financing for, we can put in there. Well, you know, and I guess if we're gonna go to natural resources, you know, we need to load the boat with everything that we need. You know, the complete build out, fix up whatever we want to do. You know, the grant application that we already had in was for water lines. I think for 4,000 feet on both systems, the Helena distribution system and the West Helena distribution system.
Can we get a local bid?
We get what?
A local bid? Can we get a local bid?
Local bid on what?
On the roof.
I don't know. He's asking that we get a local bid on the roof.
I don't know if it would make any difference.
I don't know that, I don't know of anybody locally that does a built up roof like of the quality that Jones, and I've always.
I know a couple. They do roofs for Delta Culture Center. I can talk to you after the meeting.
Okay, sure.
Any more questions, Mr. Murdock?
Any other questions? Everybody clear on the roof repairs? And again, you know, anything that you see that you want to have further discussions with, you know, feel free to come by the office and we can sit down and discuss it at your leisure.
Thank you, Mr. Murdock. Any more questions, Mr. Murdock? Thank you, Mr. Murdock.
All right, thank you all.
Next on the agenda is Arkansas Highway Department Resolution Number 2, a resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Helena-West to utilize the state aid monies for highway overlay and surfing. There's some in your packet about the state aid.
Madam Clerk, what's the resolution with this be?
Number 2.
Resolution number 2, 2023. This is a resolution regarding the state aid for overlay and resurfaces. Yeah, have it. Basically, the city agrees to on completion of the project to assume the maintenance of the right of way by use of city, it says forces and other, including utilities, individuals in accordance with the prevailing Arkansas Department of Transportation regulations. City pledges its full support and authorizes the Arkansas Department of Transportation to initiate action to implement this project.
Body like taking the action. Resolution number 2.
As relates to resolution, you see the reconstruction, resurfacing. It says state aid plays 100% of preliminary engineering. The right of way is the city, it's 100%, the utility 100% cities. Construction 100% from the state, and construction engineering 100% of the state.
No cost to us.
What would be an example of a city project program but not let to contract?
Madam President, didn't have a map close attached to it?
Yes, it was sent out in their packet a couple of weeks ago. I didn't make any copies for tonight. They'll come in, if it's like usual, they'll come in and they'll tell you which ones they're gonna do.
Beach Street, this is right. Streets in Helena that was looking to do. But it don't cost us anything. All I need is you.
There's no action, specific question. I think the short answer is we don't have it. But you asked what would be an example. Let's say, for example, they're going to overlay on, let's say 49 right there, Boys Club. And let's say there's a city project to put a bridge across there so kids can ride a bike or walk over the highway instead of going across it on right. That we would pay 100% of that if that's what we wanted to do as part of that. Overlay. That'd be an example. But at this point, I don't think we have anything planned in any of these areas where they're going to, I hate to know my glasses, where they're going to do the overlay. So we don't have anything programmed that's not been let out to be. But that would be one thing, be an enhancement along the same area where they're doing their work. They being the highway department. We don't have anything planned that I know.
Come back and revisit it.
What's your time frame?
They need it back
Yeah.
in their office by March 3rd. They need the resolution.
Move to authorizing them to pay the.
I'll move to that resolution.
Mr. Edley moves to adopt resolution number 2. Ms. Davis seconds. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
Kyle Miller,
Yes.
Monica Davis,
Yes.
Maxine Miller,
Yes.
Don Etherly,
Yes.
5 yes, 1 absent.
Next on the Caterpillar equipment repair invoices. You all have a copy?
Ms. Simpson asked you to delay that.
Okay.
Landry,
Okay, so we'll move that to,
she had a record day, 46 trucks, 200 tons. And so she couldn't do what she wanted to do, be prepared to come tonight to talk about that.
okay, so we'll move it to the next agenda.
People come to the Landry, Marigold, Mississippi, some others.
Oh, money.
Yeah, she wants $100,000.
Move. That's nice. List of persons hired since January 1st. Attaching copy be on the table.
For time, because I'm not, I don't want to take up time because we've been here a long time. Maybe I can get with somebody tomorrow and just find out who's in these jobs.
That list has been provided, if you'll look,
Yes, ma'am.
on the third sheet of paper that's in there.
On the agenda.
So far, it's just been the department heads.
Okay,
We have, we're in the process of interviewing for vacant positions like in street and sanitation, code enforcement. I'm interviewing for those positions now. And so we'll have an update probably at the next meeting.
okay. So just like what positions there, like Ms. Ford, what job is she?
Well,
But you can send that to me.
yes, I can send you a list.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Next on the agenda, invoices for Mrs. Maggie Mayweather. Councilman Miller will present.
Yeah, and y'all probably more familiar with the actual instance itself, but Miss Mayweather called me because she said there was an issue with the damage to her fence that she claims that the city is responsible for. And my understanding, this has been on the books for a long time. And so I'm just bringing it before council, if you all are more knowledgeable about the actual instance itself. But I did tell her, you know, I would represent her and mention it in the council meeting. So, Miss Sandy, could you at least tell us what the issue is, or as you know it, understand it?
Well, she said the fence was damaged when some tree work was done in the back of the neighbor behind her's house.
Yeah.
And it damaged her fence, knocked it over, and the 6464 is 2 invoices from Hardeman for materials only. She said that she would pay the labor for someone to clean up her yard and repair her fence if we would pay the 6464 for the materials from the lumber company.
Okay. And could somebody verify that this actually happened, or?
What this is a part of an issue we had during the Smith administration.
Okay.
What I suggested last year, earlier this year, was that we get all of these expenditures that were over $5,000 the council has not approved, and you all have a special meeting and work your way through them.
Okay.
She's called me numerous times. She's called the mayor. She's called the city treasurer and city clerk about this issue, and she's frustrated. But it was over Mayor Smith's spending authority. He never brought it before the council. It's not on the herd, but he had 2 or 3 write that together with it. And so part of it is
because one of those was Jimmy Haynes too, wasn't it? So
right.
that
One
still
was
out
Jimmy
too?
Haynes,
Yeah.
one was
One
Yeah.
of the invoices, Jimmy Haynes.
one of the invoices,
But
Jimmy
he's
Haynes.
saying there's other residents.
Oh,
There's other
other
residents.
residents. Gotcha. Okay.
Other residents there as well.
Okay.
But the issue is the council can approve it, even though he didn't have the authority, the council can reject it. And you all have a list of them. When Madam Clerk was discussing, there was $250,000 unpaid bills. Many of them were things like this. And so I don't know the status of all of them. I don't know the list of all of them. But at some point, the council needs to look through all of them.
Did the city worker actually destroy the fence?
It wasn't the worker.
It was okay.
It was somebody that the mayor hired
Right.
to use the excavator that we've been paying for, gave them the keys to it, and knocked the fence down, knocked some trees down with our equipment. But they were supposed to have insurance, but they just got the free will to use the excavator at their disposal.
Were they licensed and bonded?
No, sir.
We have no information of that license or bonding
No.
because,
Right.
we have no information of that license or bonding because it was never approved by the body, none of it required, none of it run by me or the city treasurer. It just was done by Mayor Smith.
Okay.
And so, right, we've said that before, the non-city city employees shouldn't be using equipment in the first
So it was
place.
a non-city employee
Yeah.
using
Correct.
city equipment.
Yes, sir.
That was all.
And so that's the circle that she's been caught up in. Was a non-city employee using city equipment that damaged her property and damaged other properties over there. And it was the excavator that was never approved by the city council. So it's issue on top of issue on top of issue.
And we still missing parts of other parts of this guy's house.
Right.
Well,
So the issue is this, the issue is this, she has suffered a damage and she's frustrated because city seemingly doesn't care, that's what she thinks. The issue for the body is they can't pay it, it hasn't been approved, and this body has never been presented the issue. And so that's part of this, there's been nothing to show the contract, what was done, what scope of duty, what work was. And so, but from my perspective, when I got the phone call, what I received is, I've been damaged. My fence has been damaged. If you just give the $6,400, then we can resolve the issue. Well, when I talked to the city clerk, city treasurer, I was like, well, it was never approved. It was something that Mayor Smith did, and it never came for the body. And so it's one of those things, we were trying to discern the legitimacy of the initial contract, what were they to do? And it was over the mayor's spending limit, so the issue has not been resolved. But she started calling me in late December. And that's what it was.
maybe in situations like this, and we just look at something, and we can definitely talk about this more, but something like more like just like a good faith, and say, hey, listen, you're not gonna get everything, but a good faith, because it's not her fault that, that somebody who's representing the city acted inappropriately.
Y'all in charge of finances if y'all want to resolve the issue. The issue, though, part of the caveat that I've been given and the city treasurer and city clerk been given is it's a whole lot more of these. It's more than one. So that's why I think that you all need to list and look at the full scope
Okay.
of what
So
you're
maybe
dealing
by the
with.
next meeting, we can get the list of everybody and get them ahead of time that we can look at it beforehand.
'Cause
And a little blurb about what the issue is, and then that way we can come to the meeting ready and just.
you have issue with that, Mr. Treasurer?
No.
Madam Clerk?
No.
I do appreciate y'all bringing us before, because I told her I would mention it, so I appreciate it.
So we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
My thoughts are y'all probably might have a special call meeting just to talk about that. Because it's so many of them. You probably don't spend out.
You say so many,
250, I'm talking about so many expenditures over $5,000 that haven't been paid.
they haven't been paid.
Is that
See,
right?
I'm talking-
Mr.
See, my thing is this, if it's something that benefited the city and proper protocol was not followed, I think-
Not under 5,000.
No. These old bills,
Yes, sir.
how much?
200.
I have about $250,000 on my table in there that are old bills. Some of them, like our workers' comp premium, it's 169,000. I'm 90 days past due, and a lot of them are COD on some. We've been trying to work with them and get them paid so we don't get cut off. But we just don't have a lot of extra money to work with.
Yeah.
But these are bills that just was created.
90 days before that.
Yeah, so these are from the previous administration. I didn't create these bills for you all.
I understand that, but then
So-
we had to kind of.
So my
talk
God,
about it, yeah.
it's bills that we got, buying concrete, tearing up folks' property with our own equipment was done in the previous administration.
I mean, here's the deal. Here's the deal, though. If it was something that actually benefited us, a service for the city, then I think we might need to consider paying for it. But if it's something that was just bought frivolously or something that was, bought whatever, then those are things when we would look into workers' comp. I don't know if we have any choice in that. I think by law we had to pay that.
Right, but a lot of the bills that you've seen with these serial contracts that he had created, contracts paying somebody $6,000 a month over and over. Those are the bills that I'm thinking that am I right, Ms. Rand, that you're referring to? Some of those serial contracts that the body didn't approve.
Most of the serial contracts have been paid, Mayor. These are ongoing bills, like for Barnes Tire, Sibley Auto Supply, O'Reilly's, Jordan's Fuel, Mid-South Sales, a lot of legitimate vendors that have been very, very patient and trying to let us work through our bills,
See, those are those we need to think about, because those are the only people in town.
Right. But the rent of the pumps and the payments that we had to pay these people for over $5,000 for these contracts that we got has put us in a bind. I'm gonna give you all some bills from the last year that's showing that we paid over $300,000 to vendors to patch holes, buy concrete, to fix this stuff that wasn't approved by this body. So a lot of wasteful spending that happened caused us to be in this situation. So it's hard to say when you got stuff like this that's coming up, that when I was telling them, the then council and then mayor then, that we was wasteful spending has gotten us here. And that's why every council meeting I put facts on the table so you all can see it and know what we're spending and how far we were behind trying to play catch up from the previous administration. So that we're not wasteful spending in this administration. I'm showing you all what is going on because you all need to know it is your right as councilmen and citizens to know what we're spending.
That's exactly right. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's why we had to watch our budget, you know, and at the beginning.
Right.
And be very conservative from the very beginning. And that's why I wanted to look at our budget real
And
closely.
I'm totally agreeing with you, but you should have, I was trying to get you to look at the budget a
Yeah,
couple
we
years
didn't-
ago, nobody wanted to look at the budget. Now, the previous council said, some of the people around the table
All these-
said, wait a minute, we could come back to address these issues. Excuse me, Ms. Madam, issues that we've been having pumps and a lot of other spending that has happened. We paid people to come pour concrete and they have to come right back and pour the same concrete. The former mayor was using his spending limit and nobody said, and the people around the table was complaining about it, no longer here. And I think that we could have saved money if we had to bid it out, let folks know on the front what we were doing with taxpayers' dollars. So a lot of things that we're going through is because of mismanagement. And the next thing on the agenda, if there's any more questions, the Bissell Foundation needs approval to send a check for appropriations for the spending of money. It could have been money for the budget, but you know, well, I ain't gonna get into that tonight, but
Bissell Foundation. Madam Clerk, it's my understanding that the council voted last year to accept the $50,000 donation from Bissell Foundation and that it would match by $50,000 expenditure. And that it was our understanding it would come back to the body. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so what happened in December, Mayor Smith went and spent money and without any bidding or anything and just, you have the structure out there. There was $116,000 spent. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? $116,000 incurred, $50,000 for the remainder is up to the city council whether you're gonna approve it. It was never brought before the body, never bidded, and that's why we end up with the structure, the shoddy structure that's out there. But at this point, it's there.
The structure is not shoddy, the concrete.
Well, Patrick out of the country, same person who used to excavate.
We have
But-
occupation license?
The
She
foundation,
hasn't got one for this year.
Give the foundation now one proof that he's done.
no. I'm saying the foundation itself, the concrete work that the structure's on is shoddy. But
This is, know that we've done a match. Is that what they're asking for?
Well, what I'm
Well-
asking for is permission to, for permission to mail Horizon Structures that did the kennel, the $50,000 donation that was for the kennel structure itself from the Bissell Foundation. And then we'll still have to come up somewhere along the line with $66,000 to pay the balance due
The kennel?
on the kennel. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's just for the kennel. That's not for any setup out there for utilities, water, sewer, and nothing like, that's all gonna be in addition.
What is in our budget to handle that when we planned our budget?
$2,500.
How much?
$2,500.
See, that wasn't enough.
We had workshops, and that was your part of the recommendation.
well, when you were doing last year, Mayor Smith spent the money without the body's approval. And the body hadn't gotten into, we talked to,
Are we gonna have a dog program or not?
well, the issue is, first you gotta pay $66,000, $383 to finish paying the bill.
We don't need to be,
Let's St. Columbia, if you would. You actually gonna have a dog program or not? I'm trying to define the scope for you. You gotta pay the $50,000 to Horizon. You gotta pay the $66,388 to Horizon. And then you gotta have utilities connected to it. So you'd have to find the $66,383 to pay. And then in addition, you have to have the utilities connected, et cetera, before you get to any dog program.
see, that's, you know, I agree with you. I totally agree. We got to have the money. And that's why we needed we don't need to be, you know, creating new jobs, and all this
Mr. St. Columbia, you got this twisted.
pay increases and
You got it twisted.
salary increases.
You got this twisted in this sense. All of those increases you're talking about were approved by the body. This wasn't approved by
What was approved by the body?
the budget.
I've never approved the budget. Have
But
you?
wait, one second. What I'm saying is this $116,000.
See, that's what our spending.
So just for clarification.
The city didn't spend this.
That's why we're in.
Mayor Smith,
Creating new jobs and all this other.
what's St. Columbus? Stop diverting. The $116,000 was spent by Mayor Smith.
Okay, so
It was spent by Mayor Smith, not spent by Mayor Franklin, was not spent by this body, it wasn't approved. By. Did you vote on it? No. And now you're in a position where they're demanding payment. And that's what this discussion is about. So if you would stop diverting.
You're only gonna have so much money to spend this year.
come in. So Ms. Ramsey, you're recommending that we take the 50,000 we received from the grant and pay it directly to the Horizon.
Yes, and then you'll still owe them $66,000.
Okay, so I'd like to make that motion.
I say,
Dr. Miller, make motion to pay Verizon 66,000.
50,000. From the grant that we received, from the business foundation.
Ms. Miller, second. Discussion.
Motion within itself carries another 50,000 as a practical matter. Because it's a pledge to receive the $50,000 grant. You all pledge that you would pay 50% from the city as well. And so I want you to
So
understand.
basically, we've got we went 14,000 over,
$16,000
over budget.
Right. Actually went $116,000 over budget because it wasn't never budgeted, but he never appropriated. He
I
just spent.
understand. But if it would have been done properly.
Correct.
The $50,000 matching grant was for animal control, was not for this bill.
Right. That's correct.
So now, rather than having 50 and 50 for animal control, you will have spent the entire 50 and 50 on a building.
But I think the animal control, the building is basically going to facilitate animal control because that's where the animals are going to stay, right?
Another lights, another water. Nothing, it's a structure. So now we gotta try to figure out how to get lights, water. She's asking for some more things.
Okay. So she brought us the quotes back. She was supposed to give quotes. She's supposed to give us electrical quotes. She's supposed to give us a water quote. Did we get all that? But in the meantime, these people have done the work.
That's it.
Yeah, but for them to deliver the bill, that's what we're trying to pay. So we have formerly paid all the people who did the work last year.
Right, but that's not included in this total 116. That's just the building. With Patrick Card and the people who poured the concrete and the work that he did, where the forms were literally falling down, where the landfill had to get the backhoe to hold up his forms because he didn't know how to lay a form.
Okay.
All of that being done, Mayor Smith paid for that without council approval.
And if I may say, I don't know how long Horizon will give us to pay the other $66,000. I haven't spoken to him. But I did get a note from the other day, when are you gonna pay us for the building? So asking, we could pay this first 50, but they're not gonna give us an indefinite amount of time to pay the other 66,000. The building's been out there, since probably December.
well, we also know we're not gonna build another building.
We're not
I
gonna-
mean, we're not gonna build another building. So the building is there for whatever use it is. We've got $50,000 from the Bissell grant that should have been, as I understand it, for animal control. You have to have a building to control animals, to store, to house, give them shots, whatever else. I mean, we obviously don't have all the money. We went over budget, 16,000, whatever. At the end of the day, if we just go ahead and make a good faith payment, pay the 50,000 the Bissell Corporation gave us as a grant to them, then we'll have to come back to the table and have the hard conversation of where we're gonna get the rest of the money.
My understanding was it's foundation, at least earlier, I don't know if they still feel that way now. But they said that they would consider giving us more funding, but they wanted to see,
Right.
how adequately we handle these funds.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Etherly,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Miller, Mr. St. Columbia, 5 yes.
That's on the agenda.
Condemnation ordinance, we briefly gave you condemnation ordinance for your review. Your request is additional time. I don't know if you're prepared to address it this evening. It is the one that's prepared by the municipal league. The condemnation order, it changes the way we would do condemnations. But it was in your packet. It was emailed to you all probably 17 years ago. If you have any further questions on the ordinance, if you want to address it, or you need further time to study it. Yes, ma'am.
Does this have anything to do with all those apartment buildings that are being torn down, or is this something different?
Does this ordinance have anything to do with the apartments being torn down?
Or is this just, this is a whole separate matter, right?
It's this separate matter. This will be redoing the way we do condemnations.
Oh,
With that.
What's the number on this?
Would be ordinance 1.
Move to place ordinance 1 on its third and final reading, reading the title on.
This motion is to place on third and final reading, suspend the rule, place on third and final reading, and reading the title only is the motion.
Discussion.
Ms. Davis? Yes. Mr. St. Columbia? Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
yes.
Okay, ordinance number 1, 2023, an ordinance providing for the condemnation removal of houses, buildings, and or structures constituting a nuisance within the city limit, providing for a lien on the property, providing penalty thereof, and for other purposes. That is,
So move.
So move to adopt. Second. Discussion. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Davis? Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. St. Columbia? 4 yes.
yes, Mr. Mayor, were you addressing these?
Yes, there is a packet I hand you all out that shows very quickly. We have paid, we receive uniform services. We have paid up to 70 grand on uniforms. We used to have another check for $26,909.16. That was for the people in the water department. There was their insurance. It was going to be canceled, so we had to mail a payment, mail a check in. If you can see, it was dated. The period was supposed to be paid. You can see the name on the bottom that these were being deducted. It was not being paid. You see the names of the people on the next list.
So for clarity, all the people on this list, the insurance was about to be canceled because the city had deducted from their pay, but had not paid the insurance.
Yes, but it was handled through the water department, not the clerk or the treasurer. The person that they had there wasn't taking, was taking out, but wasn't paying it. So it had nothing to do with these people at this table. If you look, it was from the previous administration. You can look on the bottom of the ladder that you see. where it says health, water service, and you can see where it says attention, that fell on those people.
Do they get an invoice? You
Yeah.
Send them an invoice for the insurance amount or how's it work?
But these people were not paying it. They were taking it out of the check. I don't know what they did with finance, but we
Invoice.
Yeah,
So the payroll would deduct this premium from
from-
their pay and then fail to remit it to the vendor. That's
but the water department,
water, the fiduciary funds, basically. The
so
work
they,
being
so
remitted.
they, so they took the insurance portion out, but they didn't pay the insurance.
Right.
So where did those funds go?
we
Even in the bank, I don't know that part. They get sent to the vendor.
yeah. It was a medical, dental, vision, accidental death, and life insurance.
They need to be investigated. then. 'Cause if funds were being taken out of somebody's check and it wasn't being paid, where it's supposed to be paid to, then we need to find out where those funds went.
But
And perhaps we should, but some of that is that, you know, they were cash starved in the water department, so they were taking everybody's money. They were taking your sanitation fees and spending them.
right,
They were taking Richard Cobb's sanitation fee. Richard Cobb, and y'all may get a call on Richard Cobb.
That's confusing.
PW,
Yes, sir.
PWD of Arkansas.
Yeah.
He hadn't been paid since last June or July. We collect his sanitation fees out in the county and we charge $1.25 per account. So we had not remitted those monies to him.
Okay.
But on the other hand, he uses our landfill.
Okay.
And he has not paid us. So on
But this
that,
is sanitation, not water.
the water department collects the money.
Oh, I see.
So it's in the water department. And they collect the people's money
I understand.
and not sending it out. That's what they've been doing.
Isn't that supposed to be the part that's the revenue?
Yes.
So then why are they always cash strapped? I don't get it.
Well, that's the point that Mayor Franklin was trying to get to, and the body was trying to get to all last year in the entire Smith administration. Water utilities are supposed to be cash flow. Water utilities had a rate study done and tied the water rates to the consumer price index. Everybody's water utility bills just went up 6.5%, tied to consumer price index. And water comes to cash flow. It has been a management issue, what it's been. And that's a major problem because while I agree it probably needs to be investigated, part of the investigation gonna find is just nobody was being paid. The city was as much as 7 months behind at some point in receiving receipts from the water utility. And that's just a fiduciary, just a pass through. They're a conduit for us to receive money. On our water bills, we pay a sanitation fee, and the only thing they do is collect it, we'll give it to general fund. That's the only way they're
And
supposed
they
to
weren't
touch it.
sending the funds over.
There were many months they wouldn't. Now, Madam Clerk reported last month that they've caught up, but for most of the Smith administration, they were minimum 3 months behind.
So
at
then,
all time.
okay, so then where were those funds going?
Bypass pumps.
Well, it seemed like they were going to bypass pumps. Because at one point, the numbers that we talk about, Tony Scroggins was the former general manager. And he said for $33,000 fix, we spent $800,000 in rental fees.
Oh, and it's overtime.
And then you have overtime. And then you have the Jordan's fuel. So you had gas, you had overtime, you had rental. And so all that came down to a lion's share of it, we could have fixed for the $87,000, but we spent $800,000, then overtime and all the other things. We spent millions of dollars to fix something small. So we, as a city, wasted a lot of money, but the city council wouldn't been getting the information. There was a false narrative that the city council won't give Mayor Smith things, but everything Mayor Smith asked for, he was given. And when he was asked for, he was given it, but he wasn't asking for it until it was an emergency that, the building's about to collapse. You need you to prepare. You know, that's the race, but the thing I'm saying is, it was a dire need at the point it came to it. So the city council asked for it at least 5 times. I reminded the city treasurer, the mayor, they've asked for, tell us what you're spending the money on, show us what you spent these emergencies on. And the mayor never provided city council with details of what he was spending more of the money on. Never. And that was asked over and over and over and over again. And so what we're seeing is the fruit of mismanagement. And I understand it's hard for all of us to swallow, hard to digest, and it's definitely hard coming out.
Before you all adjourn, I forwarded you an email as council members from ADEQ. Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality showing that Bruce Simpson is now licensed on provisional license to operate our landfill. We won't be having any landfill operator concern. He's gonna sit for the test in May. His license is good through December of 2024, I think is what it says now.
Does it in this, I'm sorry, does it in this need council approval?
Yes.
Second.
Second.
Clerk Caldwell.